Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Experience Maker Live. I'm your host, Dan Gingiss, the Experience Maker. I'm a customer experience speaker, author, podcaster, and coach, and I'm here with you every week to talk to somebody who is in our space, teaching others, learning from others. That's how we all get better. I have a couple of announcements first, and then we will get to today's guests. The first is that our program is brought to you by our friends at Zoho Desk. I've gotten to know these guys well and really impressed with them. And they are now giving $100 in Zoho Wallet credits so that you can explore the world of intelligent support and contextual customer experience. You can try everything that Zoho Desk offers with no strings attached. They also have an exclusive offer of 50% off an annual subscription. So all you need to do is go to this link, which is bit.ly/Zoho deal. And that is a special link for viewers of the Experience Maker to get this deal. So it's bit.ly/Zoho deal. Please check out my friends at Zoho Desk. And we will get to this later, but next week we are going to have somebody on from that company, which I'm very excited about. Also, later today at 1 o'clock Eastern, actually, excuse me, that's 2 o'clock Eastern, tune in to CXCY. It's a new customer experience show that I'm doing with my friends at ClueTrack, where every episode we review an industry and dig deep into the analytics to find out what is going on, what customers are saying in online reviews. And today's topic you don't want to miss because it is sweet. It is the topic of chocolate. So if you like chocolate, tune in to CXCY and learn all about what's going on in that industry, including takeaways that you can use for your own business. All right, today I am very excited to bring you today's guest all the way live from Israel. He is a voiceover artist and also the co-founder of the Customer Experience Professional Network. He leads two of the largest customer service groups on LinkedIn. His name is Abraham Venismach. Welcome, Abraham. How are you today, sir?
Hey, thank God, doing fabulous.
Well, it is great to have you on. You and I got to talk a couple of months ago, and I found you to be a really interesting guy, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. So tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. I don't claim to be a customer service guru. What I do claim is to be a customer. I share that in common with everybody, and we have our ups and downs with the customer experiences, and that's kind of how I got the group started, was just complaining about customer service, not on LinkedIn, not about LinkedIn, but just customer service in general. And all of a sudden I got over 200,000 people, with the same, kind of, I guess, feelings about it. And here you go.
Wow. Now that can't be just all of a sudden. That must have taken a little while to grow to 200,000 people. So tell me what these groups are about, how people can find them, and what are people getting out of them?
Well, the customer service groups began, I think it was in 2005 or something like that. I started one group, and it was just because I immigrated to Israel, and I came up with a program for employee recognition that was going to be the thing that I was going to do to help to pay the bills. And and it was a really good program. And there was this one company that I was working with back when I was in the States. We had a company that we did plaques and trophies and T-shirts and corporate stuff, and they were having a problem with their customers, their customer service, with only 60% of their customers were happy. That's a disaster. So they took it very serious, and they called me in to talk about creating some kind of an award for them. And we went back and forth and we came out with this really cool thing called the Golden Hammer and Golden Nail Award. They were at the time the largest the largest home builder in the U.S. It was Kaufman and Broad, or KB Home is what they call themselves now. It's been a while. No, I think it's the same. And they bust everybody into UCLA campus. They flew people in from all the divisions, and they had this whole big event to discuss this problem they had, and they had brought me in specifically to talk about, what they could do for the award. So we came up with this thing called the Golden Hammer and Golden Nail Award, which was that every time someone was mentioned for something good uh, by a customer and a coworker, because it was inter departmental, it was coworkers, it's just everybody was a customer ideology. Vendors, everybody. It was just everybody's a customer. Your coworker is your customer. So every time they received a mention, they received this little golden nail that we went to Home Depot. We spray painted them gold, and we put them on a little wooden block about it was like a 4x4 inch by 2 inch little block, drilled 5 holes in it, put a little plaque on it that says, "You really nailed it." And it took off. It just took off. And they were having nail parties, and the CEO would be flying into the divisions and personally giving out the nails, and they had a little hammer, and you can go up in levels. You get your hammer, and then they had this thing called the Legacy Club, and it went so well that within 3 years, customer service went from that 60%, that sad result of 60%, to a very happy result of 95% customer satisfaction, to some divisions reporting 100%. And here was a real interesting side effect of this whole thing. The employee turnover basically stopped. That's big. So it was all manually done at the time. And so I said, well, let me just put this in, I'll make it an online thing. This is back when this was kind of new, all this stuff. And I started to market that. I made like 1,000 cold calls, to get it. Finally, I hit one that was 2,500 location, 30,000 employees are ready to go. And then the recession hit. So everyone was, all hands on deck. Nobody was buying anything. And I'm thinking, well, let me just go try LinkedIn. And I put a group together called Making Excellent Customer Service Standards. Started do a little bit of complaining about it, about the terrible customer service. And so I thought maybe I could create some relationships with in customer service. Now, here is the thing that you might want to talk about here. The talking point is that I did not know that customer service wasn't the place for employee recognition. I knew that, HR was, in terms just the basic, years of service awards, employee of the month award, this type of a thing. But no one got it at that time. No one understood. This was before even CX, the idea of CX was even out. And no one understood that employee recognition belonged in customer service. No one got that. No one understood that is what made the difference in helping those customers and change that. It was an amazing transformation from 60 to 95% to some divisions reporting 100, and no one got it except for this one company that says, "Yeah, we get it." And I'm like, and what the thing that shocked me was in the customer service field that nobody was responding back. They're going, "Oh, that's HR. That's HR." I'm like, no. I said, it's not HR. So I'd like to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, look, in so many companies, customer service represents the vast majority of the employees. I worked at Discover Card, and there were 2,000, 2,500 people at headquarters, and more than 10,000 people in the field answering calls and emails and tweets and all that sort of thing. So it is a big part of the employee base, which I think makes a lot of sense. And certainly the recognition piece makes sense as well. I was thinking when you were talking about the hammers and the nails, that what my favorite singer-songwriter is Paul Simon. And of course, he has that famous lyric, "I'd rather be a hammer than a nail." So I was thinking about that, but it's such a great example. So it kind of sounds like, if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it kind of sounds like you fell into this customer service stuff because you were actually focusing on employee experience or employee recognition, and then you were able to make that connection, as you said. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. What happened was that once the recession hit, everyone was all hands on deck, and I just went into survival mode. I moved into a village of only 95 families up in the mountains of Israel at age 45. I didn't have any language skills or I wasn't really the most hireable person, so I had to work online, and it became one of the most difficult times of my life because I had no income, and I was in a place that I wasn't in the country of my birth, and I was in a small town in a village actually, and it was hard, and I had to come up with something. Um, and I had to leave the group alone, and I had to go into manual the manual mode, right? I get just do what you can to survival mode. And it was about 3 years later, I get an email from somebody, and it was from the UK, and she sends me an email, says, "I'd like to put a post on or back then we could do announcements. So I'd like to do an announcement on your LinkedIn group, and pay you for it." I'm like, "What is she talking about?" Right? I had no idea. I completely forgot about it. So I go over to take a look at the link she sent me to see exactly what she's talking about, and I'm like, 9,000 people in this group now. And I'm like, "What?" And I look at who the owner is, and sure enough, it's me. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, I better do something about this." And so, she paid me $600, and I was like, just amazing. And I start to work it. And then I contacted Steve Zanos, who's the owner of the largest LinkedIn group in customer service. And I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I don't know. Back then, you could pretty much just sneeze and open up a LinkedIn group, and it just grew." And I said, "Look, you mind if I work on it?" And he says, "Go right ahead." So we partnered up, and it just went from, the went from 9,000 to 40,000 to 50, 60, now we're all, up to over 200,000. But the LinkedIn groups now aren't what they used to be, as you probably are aware of that. They're not very user friendly. There's a lot of just people that are putting in self-serving posts on LinkedIn. They're not really providing much value. And in fact, I go through these every week to approve people and approve posts. And I just want to give people a little tip out there for LinkedIn, is that I see the difference of the self-serving ones and the people who are actually trying to be helpful and to provide some real value and create conversation on there. So I just pass the people that are self-serving. I pass them up. They're not doing anything. They're just putting advertisements, and people who are coming to the groups or coming onto the social media, they're looking to get something out of it for them. They want to learn something. They want to meet some people and get into some conversations and share ideas and learn new things that then help them. And when you just got this, "Oh, here's my great article, come and look at and take them off the LinkedIn," you're right there. Now I have to go all over the place to start looking for information. Where when I see a post of somebody who's actually educating people, I approve that, because the person can just stay right on the platform and just keep moving through and get what they came for on the platform.
Sure. So behind you or next to you is a little logo that says "Let's Talk Customer Service," which I know is something that you have just recently started. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I'm back to trying to create value on the platform. Since I have those groups, I was thinking, what can I do to help the people? I'm not, like I said, I'm not a customer service guru. I did have a small business, and I have my own experiences that I share with others, and I like to hear it from other people's experience. So I figured, customer service is a good talking point. I like to say, if the definition of being in business is having a customer, so you really need to take care of that customer if you want to stay in business. And so I figured, let's talk customer service. If we're all business people here on LinkedIn, and I thought, it's a nice topic. It allows me to be able to also to showcase my voice, so to speak, that people might want to use my services. At the same time, provides value for the group members to be able to bring up their ideas and their opinions, and discuss and also customers to discuss their problems and experiences as well. So I decided to call it "Let's Talk Customer Service," because it's a good talking point.
I love it, and it is something that people want to talk about all the time. It's I often share in my keynotes that people share experiences at both ends of the spectrum. They share very positive experiences and very negative experiences. We don't share average. We don't share ordinary. We don't share what the millennials call meh. We just share the really positive and the really negative. And unfortunately, the negative ones often have a customer service bent to them, which is why you said you started by talking about times where the service wasn't good. I still continue to be surprised at how many companies just still don't get it right. And there's one in particular I've been battling with an airline recently that I've been loyal flyer for 30 years.
Wow.
And it occurred to me the other day that the value that they place on that loyalty is less than $15, because I was asking for a $15 refund and they were saying no. And
Right.
so it really gets you to stop and think. And, as customers, we just, when we're loyal to companies, we want them to be loyal back to us. A former boss of mine used to say, loyalty goes both ways, which I think is so true. And so the more that we're loyal to our customers, the more they're loyal back to us, the more we're loyal to them. And it's circular in that way. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff, and certainly no lack of content to talk about, because and it's one of the things I love about customer service and customer experience is new content emerges every day. All we have to do is be customers ourselves, and we're going to experience it.
That's right.
I'm curious, just because you've lived in two very different parts of the world, do you see anything different in Israel in terms of the approach to customer service or customer experience as you did in the States?
Yeah, don't get me started.
Why I
Yeah,
asked.
there's a definite difference in mentality. Um, I want to say that it depends on the mentality of the people and where you're starting from, and senses that it's an issue of a trust. And they figured that the idea is that they're worried here about that people will take advantage of you if you're nice to them, or you do you offer, let's say you're going to offer that $15 back. So they're going to think that someone's going to try to figure out a way to continually, try to get that 15 bucks off, right? And I'm a firm believer of that most people are inherently good and you can trust them. There's always going to be a bad element wherever you go, but you don't let those people, to disrupt well, I'll say, putting your good foot forward. I like to say I always have a good foot forward because I have 2 feet, and you step on my front good foot, I'll just kick you off with my back good foot, and I'll have another good foot forward again. So, you never lose faith in people. Never, this is the key, I thought. And I noticed the difference between the cultures is just this, people are afraid of that someone might take advantage of them. And I see that in the States as well. Now I'd like to bring it, this is one of my favorite talking points, what you're talking about, that $15, right? And it is so short-sighted for companies not to invest that money, because they spend so much energy and time and money in advertising and selling, that the best advertisement, I call it advertising expense, to where if they would have given you that 15 bucks back, if they would have just made that like Don Pepper's, I like it called frictionless customer service. If they would have just said, "Oh, listen, Dan, you're, for sure, here's 15 bucks, and here's an extra few little things for it," you would be telling everybody. You'd be going,
For sure.
"Wow, this," and you'd be like, "Man, I am never leaving this company. They love me, I love them. We got a love affair going on here."
Well, and
Once they start
it's a
taking,
matter of sorry to interrupt. It's a
yeah, go ahead.
matter of the understanding the long-term value of the customer versus a single transaction. And I wrote
100%.
about this in my book, an experience that I had with Amazon, where I ordered some pots and pans, and the whole set comes, and there's one lid. It's a glass lid, and it showed up shattered. And
Right.
so I called Amazon and I asked for a replacement lid. That's all I really needed. And the lady on the phone was super nice. And she said, "Look, I don't know how to get you a replacement lid. Like, I don't have those. But what I can do is just refund your money and just keep the set." So I went from being disappointed that I received a set of pots and pans with a broken lid to, "What lid? Woohoo! Free
Yeah,
pots and
right.
pans!"
Right.
Like totally changed the experience. And of course, Amazon knows that that's going to make me more loyal to them. And they knew that, yes, they lost money on that transaction, but I would say the probably 1,500 transactions I've had since then have more than made up for it.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so they're one of the best at understanding that. The airlines don't get it, because they feel like what you're saying, that, well, if we give $15 back to this person, then everybody's going to want $15 and we're going to go broke. No, because not everyone has a claim to $15, right? I felt a very valid claim, but it's a different feeling now. So now, where's my head? My head is, I think I'm going to look for another airline to fly after
Oh
flying the
yeah,
same airline for 30 years. I don't think that's
absolutely.
what they want. And I think if they had a choice of paying me $15 or having me think that, they'd probably pay me the $15, wouldn't you say?
Well, how much did they spend in advertising, to get people to come to their airline, and you see these commercials and you see print web ads, and they spend so much money that, and for a just mere little few pennies, they're ready to lose a customer. So, you're right in that, I had the same experience with Amazon. I had bought a ukulele, and it was a birthday present that, and received it, and it had a little crack in the top, and I contacted them, and they're like, "Oh, wow, that we'll give you the money back," and they said, "We can't replace that one because we don't have any." It's like your story, right? They said, "But do you wanna keep that one? And we'll give you the money back." I'm like, "Wow, okay." And you're
Yeah.
right, I think it just boils down to trust. I think trust is I remember when I did the CX Success Summit, it was a virtual summit that I did, and I interviewed over, 35 customer service gurus from around the world. And, I do believe that I can't remember who said it, but, it came to where I would say that where everything is moving is trust. Trust is where you really have to be, and I feel that when you're dealing with, because that's where the problems begin. The moment, like, when you have employees and you stop trusting them, they don't trust you, and now you have a cat and mouse, and everything just goes down from there. Customers, you don't trust them, you think they're gonna constantly, try to find a way to take advantage of you, then you're already starting off with your bad foot forward. You're already thinking that all people are bad and they're all thieves. They're already insulting people straight out, rather than saying, you know what, here's a customer. He's been around a long time. He's never done anything like that. Well, I wouldn't even think of a thing like that. And it reminds me of a quick story. Is that we did some t-shirts for a radio station back in LA, and they had an event that they would allow us to print as many shirts that we thought that was needed, and we were responsible for reporting on what we sold, and then we gave them their cut, and it was all cash. Everything was all word of mouth, and so it was expanding. And we brought in this one guy, and at the end of the thing, he says, "Well, tell me again how this works." I says, "Well, we print up a certain amount of t-shirts, and then we calculate what we sold, and then we give them their cut." He says, "Well, you mean you can tell him anything?" I'm like thinking to myself, "Where's this guy going with this?" Right? And I look at my brothers, "Where's this guy go?" I said, "Are you implying that we could like lie to these people?" He says, "Well, yeah." And I says, "You're fired." I says, you know what you did right now?" My brother and I, we were, aghast. We're like, I says, never even occurred to us that thought. That wasn't even in our mind. Now you put this crazy thing in our mind like that such a thing could happen. I says, "Yeah, get out of here. We don't even want to see you ever again."
Yeah.
So this is the problem, is that there are people out there that they want to promote this idea that people are bad and they're going to take advantage of you. And I'm sure some people listening to this go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's right." But don't. You go and you put your good foot forward. You go out there and you treat your customers right. If if it's money, it said the customer's always right. I say it's the customer is always thinking they're right. And you need to make it right. It's your job to make it right so the customer is right, and they will be telling everybody, even if they were wrong. I mean, obviously there's things within reason and and exceptions, but we're talking the rule of thumb is make the customer right always.
Yes, for
That's how it should
sure.
be said.
For sure. And Melissa, thank you for commenting. Most people are inherently good. The more we give, the more we receive long term. Agreed. I think that's the philosophy that we have to take, because that's a philosophy of trust instead of distrust. Abraham, we are out of time. How can people get a hold of you or connect with you if they'd like?
Okay, so if you need a good voice for whatever you you need a good voice for, just go to abrahamvo.com. That's easy, right? Abraham, as in VO for voiceover. So if you go to abrahamvo.com, you'll hear my demos over there. If you're interested in joining the groups, you can send me an email. I'd be happy to, let you in the group. It's just I go through them once a week. Sometimes I miss a week. And if you really want to get in, there's not a lot there. I'll just be honest about these things, that these LinkedIn groups aren't the greatest things out there. You could do a lot, I recommend highly listen to Dan. You'll get a lot more out of it by listening to Dan than to go to these groups, but you're welcome to join, certainly welcome to join. But and if I can be helpful to anybody in any way, please feel free to reach out.
Well, thank you, Abraham, and definitely follow Abraham on LinkedIn because his content is great as well. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here as well. A couple of reminders. First of all, at 2 p.m. Eastern today, CXCY show that I will be hosting along with two guests who are going to be talking about chocolate. We've got Chocolate Johnny from Australia, and we've got a woman who works for Mars in the US. And we are going to be talking chocolate all the time and the customer experience of chocolate. And trust me, even though I know you're not in the chocolate industry, you will learn something from your business. Also, a reminder that we are sponsored by Zoho Desk. Please go to the link on the page there, or let me put the other link on here, the Zoho deal, which will get you 50% off your annual subscription. And next week, we are going to bring on Prashant Krishnawamy, who is the global head of market strategy and thought leadership at Zoho. Terrific guy. Can't wait to talk to him next week. We will be back next week, Thursday at noon Eastern. I'm Dan Gingiss, the Experience Maker. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in.